All right, good morning, everybody. Back with another video here for you guys. Just going to adjust my screen. There we go. Okay, so quick recap. Yesterday, we were talking about Ethereum a lot, where I saw Ethereum going along with some other altcoins. We'll start first with Ethereum. Bit of a we're a bit underwater right now on stocks, but expecting a move lower. I'll talk about that in a second. I think it's coming. But yeah, so Ethereum, we talked yesterday, a couple of competing factors here. Let me get a fresh chart for you because this looks like this looks horrible. Yeah, so we talked high time frame. I'm really expecting this move to take the 2150 high and probably trade higher. We had talked about some mid ranges as a potential target. In the short run, we sort of have a battle between two draws on liquidity. This is the higher time frame draw on liquidity. I think taking a long probably out of this area. If we get the trigger is going to be a good play there. The reason I thought we were going lower is because few things. I had I had fibbed out this manipulation leg here. I have a period of consolidation, manipulation, breakdown. It felt to me like this leg had unfinished business. I saw like the -2, -2.5, which is a pretty common target for these moves. Sits very nicely in this daily order block. So higher time frame, we've got the 2140 or so level as a draw. Lower time frame though, I think this order block is a pretty interesting draw, and this is just some basic, lower highs, lower lows structure we have going on here. If you map this out, and then we can also draw some supply here. This gave us the break of structure to the downside. We retested that, traded off of it. So yeah, I'm not really taking a trade here. I'm not in a mood at the moment to be trading a counter trend. It's a bit of a, mental hassle. You got to be really paying attention because you're going against the higher time frame flow. But, that being said, there's a few reasons you could justify for taking this trade. This is an indicator I really like to use, by the way, for crypto. This key levels spaceman, BTC. I usually clean it up a little bit so it's not so crazy. But you can see we got Monday's range here. We've got the daily open. We've got the weekly open, right? So a move that comes back up into this supply, maybe even runs the Monday high, gives you some sort of, structure break. Could be an interesting setup to take a short if you see it. You're not going to want to just blindly trade into this area because, this leg could break structure to the upside, break 2190. We could be off to the races. So I wouldn't be blindly entering here. But if you're on the lower time frame, you get some sort of some bearish market structure shift. Could be an interesting spot. You'd be in a premium to the Monday range. You'd be above the daily open. You're above the weekly open. You want to be taking trades, to the downside when you're in a premium of particular ranges, Monday, daily, weekly range. whatever you're operating on. And then the opposite is true when you're taking longs. You want to be taking longs in a discount. So that's kind of where I feel like we're going at the moment. ETH, in the Discord I called that we're obviously going to bounce off of this level. We got a pretty sharp reaction off of that demand. Possible we're putting in like a double bottom now and we'll go higher. Don't have particularly strong conviction to take a long trade out of here. I'm sort of playing the waiting game, possibly looking for a short setup here, but really fairly eagerly looking for a long setup somewhere out of this daily demand. I don't think we talked about stocks too much yesterday, but I've been making some moves in stocks. And once again, I will clean this chart up. Right now, we're operating on this leg here. And that leg, basically comes from this manipulation here. And you could maybe even consider this entire zone here some sort of zone of accumulation. And then you get the manipulation leg down and a big move up, right? So this is sort of what I'm working with as the potential origin accumulation of this leg that we're working with. I don't know if you guys can see these numbers, but 2 is up here, 16,567. That's a target for me. Next target for me would be about 18,177 or so. So I'm looking for reasons to take longs on this daily leg. You can see this is just a very strong move. You've got so many gaps here, so many fair value gaps, fair value gap here. This is a strong leg. So have a pretty good conviction we're going to be going higher. You can see we also closed the daily above the prior all-time high. That's a pretty good signal. Not crazy that we're retracing at the moment. I kind of highlighted this daily order block here. This is the block that gave us the break of structure. And you can see on the 1 hour, that translates into accumulation demand zone. If you fib this stuff out, you can see you got a manipulation leg here after a prior period of accumulation, and here that gave us this leg up and gave us a really clean move to this is the -2, and you can see we basically hit that to the pip. So it's pretty remarkable what you can do with these range projections once you know how to use them. They work really well in stocks and kind of just trading these things over and over and over again. On the way down, you had another manipulation leg, this time coming from here. So kind of basically thinking this would be the target for the retracement leg. This is yesterday's New York session low. Sits right around that -4 level. So I got in a trade here in the early afternoon, thinking that we were going to basically finish this move down. Not sure if this is like an incredible trade, to be honest. Like I would feel better taking the trade, in a premium. So maybe maybe in this hourly fair value gap could be like an interesting spot. That's in a premium to the leg. But sometimes I get greedy and I don't follow my system exactly. I'm a human being. But I don't I don't like hate the trade either, because we have this got this supply here that gave us this big move down, and then I sort of marked out the PM open. That actually should be showing on this indicator. I'm not sure why it's not. Oh. Okay. So yeah, same principles with the afternoon session. If you have a bearish bias, you could think of the afternoon candle as a 1:30 to 4, and then you're basically looking to get short on a move up in the afternoon session, so that you're kind of getting in on the wick, and then you're riding the expansion downward. So this level here was the lunch high. You can see we got that at 12:55, which is lunch hours. The lunchtime sort of its own session, so you sometimes will see like a manipulation leg up and take that high. You can see we had a wick up, took that high, and if you kind of zoom into some lower time frames, this is the entry here. So run the high, fair value gap, displacement, retrace, and then probably put the stop above 16. I think I have it above 16,000 right now. So we'll see if that plays out. Like I said, it's not as good of a setup as I usually get, but I do think we're coming for this 15,887, and I think that we either come for it now, just down here into end of day, at which point I'll be looking for longs. Good spot, I think, to get long for a sustained period of time, because like I said, on the daily, that zone is a pretty good zone. That's the order block that gave you the structure break. So pretty good reason to think that holds. And oftentimes, as we talked about, I think we talked about this yesterday, these fair value gaps that are formed, they often go completely unfilled. These demand zones especially often go completely untapped until you make it to your targets for the leg, at which point you can sometimes see retracements down before coming higher. So that's my logic there on stocks. I think alternatively, if this trade doesn't work out, which like I said, I think is a fairly high likelihood because of where in the leg I'm taking the trade. Once again, if this is the leg you're working in, you can use OTE setup, optimal trade entry. Got that backwards there. But ideally, to maximize your risk reward, you want to be entering at a premium above the 0.5, and ideally, between the 0.618 and 0.79. Other good things about this level, you can see we got the CME open here at 8:30. Generally want to be entering above the open if you're going short. You didn't really get it. I had mapped this out this morning, right? I saw this manipulation leg from Asia, but I don't really take trades until 10 because it's early here where I'm at, and then also you have the equities open and the volatility from the red folder news kind of compounding. So like to either get in around 7 o'clock, which is rough because it's really early my time. But that gave you a good entry here in the New York session because you did have this order block here that price tapped into before just absolutely nuking lower. So if you caught that entry, you made a nice trade, but I wasn't awake yet. So I've been trying to find a spot to get in on the rest of this leg. And like I said, kind of framing this trade now around the afternoon session. If that doesn't work, I think it's very possible that we could trade up to the 0.79, because on the hourly chart, you can see that's where we've got an hourly order block way up there. So very possible that we also get a leg up like this, and then ultimately come lower before continuing higher. So those are my thoughts on equities. A couple more crypto things, I guess. I took a trade earlier on DYDX. Context here is that. So a couple things important here on DYDX. I think for the most part, getting in now for a long-term hold is a little iffy. We did a nice little had our classic kind of setup here. So this was our accumulation range, and then we got the manipulation leg, and then ultimately we go higher off of that. If you frame that out, you see the -2 really corresponds nicely with this high. This was your first target. I think, we're in an altcoin bull, so this thing is ultimately going higher. And I think that, this level here is definitely on the table next. What is this? This is above $7. But we did take a pretty high time frame level with a big move. So expecting some sort of retracement after that. And I think for a longer term spot move, from the bottom here, again, I'm going to be looking for a setup, kind of in this zone, and a discount, ideally in here. That corresponds pretty nicely to this demand here. So I'm long right now. I'm not thinking it just goes straight to all-time highs. If it does, God bless it, I'll miss it. But I think it's more likely we get something like this moving forward. So I'm just trying to catch this leg here. I think good reasons to be long for a short period of time anyway. Daily order block, right? This is the demand that gave us the break of the high. You can kind of see what that looks like on the 4-hour level. Haven't really had a good bounce off of this level yet. And then you can see we got a couple SFPs here, a couple swing fails. And I saw a similar structure forming to what I pointed out at the bottom, where you have this, again, accumulation right above that critical low, and then you see this leg down, run the low, retest, double bottom, higher high. So this looks pretty good to me right now. I think you might be able to take like a second entry in here. And I'm sort of thinking that I can probably take this up into a premium of this whole leg. So if we just look at, what are our higher time frame PD arrays here, thinking about this leg, there's our low here. Keep doing this thing backwards. But yeah, you can see this high is a pretty obvious target. And then this the supply here. So you could definitely see price running this high, and then you get your 2.5, 0.61 fib. Could definitely see something like that happening. So I'll be looking to take profits above that high and here for that trade. And then, like I said, like maybe if I get it, looking to enter lower if we retest this demand here. But not in like a huge rush to FOMO into any particular alt. There's so many alts that you can get a decent setup. One thing that's on my radar as well is I've been starting to look at the L2 trade. Arbitrum's been quiet for a bit. But I do think this leg was like a pretty substantial move coming off of this zone here. Probably looks like a weekly, yeah. So this weekly block here is probably going to be an interesting spot to enter. And I think from there, we finally run this high, and that will give us a weekly structure break, and then we'll be off to the races. I like Arbitrum and Optimism as trades. Arbitrum especially, I think, is interesting because the chart history is not contaminated. This thing was launched in May, so kind of already after the bull market was done. Yes, people are underwater, but it's not much of a gain to get back to all-time highs. Compare that to Solana or something, right? Solana probably still needs like a 4x or so to get to all-time highs. This is not even a 2x for Arbitrum. And these narratives shift and shift and shift, and pretty sure at some point there's just going to be this, like last cycle, those of you who are around know we had this alt L1 cycle where everybody was like, oh, these things are all cheaper and faster than Ethereum, and we went to Avalanche, and we went to Phantom, and we went to Harmony 1, and we just went from like L1 to L1 to L1. It looks like we're setting up for a similar thing this cycle with like ETH L2s. I think everybody and their mother is going to probably launch an ETH L2 this cycle. You're already seeing a lot of it in the realm of gaming. I know that Pac-Man just announced, what is it? Blast, I think it's called. Yeah. Blast is probably an interesting play. I actually just bridge some ETH over there, so you can find a referral code, bridge some ETH, get a decent airdrop in February. I think this is probably free money, not financial advice. Seems like as much ETH as you bridge, you're going to get points for an airdrop. Cool thing about Blast is I understand it, is that the native ETH and stable coins just have like a yield. So if you have ETH on there, it's just giving you 4% or so at the moment. I think it's a pretty cool concept. Pac-Man, is founder for Blur. I'm pretty bullish on Blur. I announced in my friend tech the other day that I was, I made my first pretty solid DCA buy, and I think Blur pumped pretty hard recently today. I'm assuming that was just off of the Blast news, because Pac-Man Blast, Pac-Man Blur. Yeah, we got a little pump off that level. Kind of a pump for ants. I still think this can totally go lower, and be happy to buy more in here. But anyway, back to ARB. I think more probably than not, for a while, these L2s, they just outperform ETH. They're sort of going to behave like high beta ETH. I'm not sold that these things like really have sustained value in the long run. I think it's way too early to know what's going to happen here. Are we going to have a world with multiple L2s? Is one L2 just going to swallow everything? Is it going to be a hybrid of that where like one ARB or you know, an OP super chain sort of wins, but you still have like really large companies launching their own L2 because they can sort of sustain that. I don't know. I don't know, and I'm not smart enough to tell you what's going to happen there. Just sort of trading the charts. But you know, this is a higher time frame bearish chart. This is just another lower high right now. But given the context of everything that's happening in the larger market, I think there's a good reason to believe that if we get a dip in here, you know, that'll be kind of a final retest in terms of the daily. And then if you look at a daily chart here, this is a nice move, breaking structure to the upside here. So yeah, I see a lot of reasons to be kind of bullish this. The other thing I'm looking at too, of course, is the ETH chart. You always want to look at the ETH chart when deciding to buy these things. And although we, of course, could make new lows, you are sort of buying at range lows at the moment, and you did get a structure break. And if you look at this chart, just from a market structure perspective, we had a lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, and then this was a higher high, higher low, higher high. So as of now, you know, this is a bullish chart, and you're sort of buying at the point of maximum opportunity, because if we do run these lows, that sucks, of course, and that could happen. But you know, you're talking about losing 4 or 5% here with your ETH, versus if you bought up here, you know, you're getting stopped out 20% lower. That's pretty painful. So I think a good spot to be playing that rotation. Definitely a little bit of a knife catch at the moment, right? Like this is a pretty down only chart. Would be interesting to, on the hourly, see like a break to the upside of this. Then you could justify this as being a manipulation leg, perhaps, right here. But that's not confirmed until you get the move back above. Otherwise, this is just like a first impulse and a possible wave lower. But given the higher time frame context, I feel pretty good starting to DCA that rotation. And like I said, if I get a big move up here and then a retrace, something like that, then I think interesting spot to more aggressively buy. OP's chart looks a lot stronger than the ARB chart at the moment. Our OP has been stronger on the ETH chart, but you have a similar setup here with a retrace into this daily level. So I like it. Not something I really trade per se, but I do have spot OP, I do have spot ARB, and I am thinking about when and how to rotate a little more aggressively. These are big swings, like from here to all-time highs. This is 150%, right? So in theory, if you put all of your ETH into OP right here, and then we went back to all-time highs, you've made 150% more money than you would have otherwise if you held ETH. Of course, there's downside volatility as well, negative 40% to the downside. And yeah, I do think these things are going to continue to be super volatile. It's probably appropriate to have, you know, a few percent of your portfolio in them if you're just sort of, you know, doing a market cap weighting. And if you feel pretty strongly about the, you know, the L1 L2 thesis, then you know you can maybe put 10 or 20% of your ETH into there. I don't know, something you just kind of have to decide for yourself, I guess. Let me see if there's anything else I'm looking at, and then probably wrap this up for the day. Oh yeah, we did have the Binance news today. We had the news that, well, more Binance news, I guess. The news that CZ would be leaving, and yeah, coin reacted off the bottom there. Kind of thought we would put in a new high off of that, so a little sus. Maybe it's still yet to come, but still a good move, 4.6% off the bottom there for coin. You know, not too much to say here on coin. I still have my brag chart here. Yeah, if you're following me, told you to buy this damn thing down here. Tough. It's a tough buy right now. Now you're buying at range highs again. So yeah, this is why sometimes I just you know, grit my teeth and bear it when we're at these gross feeling levels, just because like I look higher and I think I don't even know when I would FOMO into this thing if it goes up. And yeah, ultimately this yearly mid-range so far anyway, you know, possibly for good, but we'll see. We really need to, you know, run this high before we have good confidence where we're going to just go up only. But yeah, that yearly mid-range ended up being a good support, and so far the inverse head and shoulders is looking pretty intact right now. So congrats if you're in this trade. Those of you who follow me know I'm in Riot as well with options. I have been buying options in this bad boy because it's basically, you know, super high beta Bitcoin. So I had this zone highlighted because it's the demand zone that gave us the structure break, retest, new high. So it was accumulating in here. I actually bought some very close to the bottom here. Bought some on this dip, bought some on the dip, bought some on the dip. I have a little more I might buy. So if we come up and back in, might buy a little more there. But I'm basically 90% allocated at this point. Might buy more in the form of leaps. Right now I've bought, I think March 15 calls. This is kind of a funny play to me because you can see that we were at $20 on this over the summer when, you know, Bitcoin was still, you know, 26 or 27K or something. And now Bitcoin's 37K. We're still sitting at 11. This is a super heavily shorted stock. These miners in general, I think, have like a pretty massive, you know, short float at the moment. This leg is very obviously, you know, to me, going after this high. You know, $23. This is just a meme fractal from the the last moment, but I took this trade because it was just I saw it as like basically a 10-to-1 risk reward when I took it, and then also it's options, so there's like a great deal of convexity in this trade. So, you know, I can make a, you know, $5,000-$10,000 trade and make $200,000 or $300,000 on a move. It's pretty sweet. So yeah, we'll see how much this ends up ripping. The hope would be you get an ETF announcement before end of year, and then I have until March, which is about get to about there for a big move, and then my break even is probably about $16. I think I bought these for $1, maybe $1.10 average price, but yeah, it's my break even there. So I don't know. In a perfect world, we would get one of these moves and just send it to $45, but I'm not really banking that. If this just goes and takes this high at $23, that's like 6 or 7 to 1 on my money right there. So yeah, I think it's an interesting trade. Pretty small amount of my portfolio in it, but I'm enjoying it so far. Hopefully that continues. The dollar, by the way, just continues to nuke, which is a beautiful thing. So yeah, as long as this keeps happening, I think we're gonna be in good shape. I am concerned a little bit about a bounce, from this zone here. Hopefully just a bounce, but we shall see. It is entirely possible that this could actually yoink us back up here, and that would be a bitch for sure, but something we have to be prepared for. I think even if that does happen, right, that's still the path is ultimately lower, but this could look like some nasty economic event that people weren't exactly pricing in. Dollar rips, and then ultimately the Fed is going to or the government, some combination of the Fed or fiscal, will at some point let us off the hook, because if they don't, the system will explode. But it is a little dangerous this time around. I think that the Fed's reaction function is a little warped, because they are they're so cognizant of being burned again that they might be a little late to the game, if anything, this time, in terms of easing, if that happens. And my thesis at the moment, as I think I've said, is not so much that I think the Fed is going to cut rates and that's why I'm buying. It's that I think the economy is actually a lot stronger and more stable than people think. That policy is actually easy right now in light of the still enormous COVID fiscal stimulus wave, presidential election coming next year. Fiscal spending is still off the charts. So I think there's a lot of reasons to think that we might be going higher for those reasons. So that's just kind of my generalized macro thesis. But I'm still mostly trading things because of the lines on the chart. The dollar chart looks a particular way to me, and the Nasdaq and the S&P chart look a particular way to me, and that's sort of guiding my overall thesis and why I am taking these crypto trades. So yeah, I'm going to wrap it for there today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, please be sure to like and subscribe, and yeah, come say hi in the Discord. Follow me on Twitter. I think I got all the links in the description below. And if I don't end up getting a video out tomorrow, still not sure how I'm going to do it with the holiday. Happy Thanksgiving. I'll probably be back either Friday or next week. And yeah, hope we don't suffer through a nasty Thanksgiving nuke this year, if that's the case. But yeah, enjoy your holiday. Hope your turkey's delicious if you do that sort of thing. And I will see you guys next time.